All right, good afternoon, and welcome to the third annual Beauty and Beads. It's a celebration of sorts for the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund. It's the 30th birthday. How can that be? How can that be already 30 years? They have helped so many people. And we're going to hear from some of the most recent recipients of scholarships for single parents and what they have done to better their lives. They're just amazing stories, so don't go anywhere. And we sort of apologize that this is all social distance and virtual, but you know what? We're still going to have a great time today. To get everything started, let's welcome in our wonderful mayor, Mayor George McGill of Fort Smith.
Well, good evening and welcome to all of you. We really appreciate you taking time to be with us this evening, and you're going to have an amazing time, and you're going to hear from some amazing people. People often ask me, what is it about Fort Smith that make you smile and make you love it so much? And I'm proud to say, first of all, it's my hometown, and we've got amazing industry. We've got amazing University of Arkansas at Fort Smith. We've got an amazing presence when it comes to the United States military with our air base and all the other things, and great companies here. But the thing that I cherish most, and it keeps me here, is the amazing people that live and work in this Arkansas River Valley. I often say this place is bursting at the seams with good people, fine people, hard-working people. And the people that contribute to this Single Parent Scholarship Fund, those are the ones that make up this River Valley. Those are the ones that care. Those are the ones that have a vision for this community that is inclusive of those single moms and single dads. And we embrace that. We will always think of those in need. Fort Smith is a place where we care. And those of us who are in the midst of helping and doing the little things we do it because it lifts our spirits. It gives us the feeling of love when we can help those in need. So we celebrate today. As your mayor, you know I love celebrations. And we're going to celebrate this day as we recognize the young men and women who have participated in this program. And even more importantly, to those in the River Valley who've given their resources, time, and energy to make this one of the most successful programs in the state. And I would be remiss if I didn't take my hat off to Ms. Abby Cox, dear friend of mine, cherished woman. And I'm going to share this with you before I take my seat. As we were preparing for this event, I was walking through the hall and I heard a prayer coming from a lady standing alone, praying for all of the young women and men that fall in that single parent category, praying for those that have given their time to be at this event, praying for our community. What a wonderful person she is. And that gives me pause to say, it's things like this that make us Fort Smith proud. And even more importantly, we are certainly River Valley strong. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you, Mayor McGill. You make us all excited to live here. I'd like to thank you for coming to the celebration today of 30 years. Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund has been helping single parents all over the state of Arkansas for 30 years. And what that really relates to is staying not only agile, but number one focused is student-centered. Our executive director up in Springdale carried on the vision of Ralph Nissan and got the help of Sally Condriff, please forgive me, Sally Condriff. And those two women had a vision for the future of Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund, and they brought it to fruition. they've been able to help all of the counties all over the state come together. Those that were struggling, they empowered them with the resources that they needed to stay student-centered and always, always, always keep the students' needs first and foremost. It's been an amazing thing. Today you're going to get to meet some of the people that are the program managers who are the heart of our organization all over the state. These women do nothing but work with our students. And envision with me, if you will, for just a moment, being a single parent, living in poverty. You're at the bottom of a hole, and you're looking up, and you see the light. You see the light, and you hear about scholarship, and you know you need an education, and everywhere you look, you're surrounded by debt. It's groceries, ballet shoes, Easter baskets, Christmas, not to mention just getting your kids to and from school in a decent car. Unbelievable. So you start on your journey, and you start on the ladder to go up to a better life. You see it, and it is shaky. And the simplest thing, as Dr. Riley is going to share with you too, can throw you off base and knock you out of school. $200 for a radiator, things like that. So who I get to introduce you today are the people that are at the top of the hole. You can almost hear them, it's almost palpable. They jump down into the hole with you. They look you in the eye, they hold your hand, and they say, you can do this, and I'm going to show you how. This is the fork you use, this is how you upload your documents, everything. They wrap around these students to not only prepare them to go out and fish, but to prepare the fish in a manner of style, to go out and get that good job and keep that good job and thrive. And then their children go on to school. It's an amazing organization. Thank you for helping me celebrate them today. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our very favorite Eddie Lee with United Way.
Thank you very much, Abby. You can see from Abby's big heart and her passion how much she loves what she does and how much she loves our students. And I want to say thank you to our wonderful mayor, Mayor McGill, and all the leadership that he's provided for our city and the River Valley and our community, and how blessed we are to have him. And thank you for sharing that, Mayor, about that prayer that Abby had for all of us today and those of you watching. She's truly a treasure and a jewel that we have among us. I am Eddie Lee Herndon, President and CEO of the United Way of Fort Smith area. We cover 6 counties, 4 in Arkansas and 2 in Oklahoma. And on behalf of our board of directors, our staff, all of our partner agencies and the clients we serve, we want to say thank you to our community and thank you to Single Parent Scholarship for this opportunity that Abby has provided us with today to be here to share. United Way of Fort Smith area began in 1928, over 90 years ago. And we've had the mission of working in the areas of health, education, financial stability, and crisis. All 4 of those pillars are very important to the mission of Single Parent Scholarship. We are a very proud partner and have been for many, many years and since the inception of Single Parent. And we're proud to be here today on what is the 30th anniversary and the 30th birthday of the program. It is truly amazing. I'd like to remind those of you that are watching today that United Way was blessed with the leadership of Mr. Raleigh Borum with the founding of an endowment. And we're very fortunate in that we have the endowment and we live off the interest of that investment. So we have 0% admin, meaning when you give and you can designate straight to Single Parent Scholarship, 100% of your donations go straight to that program. And we're very, very proud of that legacy that we have from Mr. Borum and the board. Abby asked me to speak today on behalf of Restore Hope. Mr. Paul Chapman, unfortunately, could not be here with us today as he has some family things to take care of. But just recently, Restore Hope forged a partnership with the United Way of Fort Smith area. It really began back in 2015 with our great governor as he looked at the recidivism rates and he looked at the high numbers of children in foster care, over 800 right here in Sebastian County alone. And so our community began on a collective impact model, working together, getting out of silos, joining hand in hand to work with many of our individuals in the community that just needed some hope, just needed a path to redemption. And thus Restore Hope and 100 Families was born. Out of that, we have many community partners, including Single Parent Scholarship, that take the hands of individuals that have been incarcerated, and perhaps are reentries or maybe alternative sentencing. But folks have inflicted wounds upon themselves, or maybe of no self-infliction of their own, have found themselves in a dark place and have had their children removed. And 100 Families works with those individuals to go from crisis to care and from care to career. Our very own University of Arkansas Fort Smith and our own Dr. Riley is a very important part of this with Future Fit and going beyond and helping folks have that education. Let me say this. On behalf of Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship and Ms. Abby Cox and Ruth Ann Hill, this is a very important part of our community and what we do. Giving people an opportunity to find that hope, as she said, to look up and see that light. You listening today and you watching today, your dollars matter. You matter to the hopes of so many individuals that are just trying to improve their lives, better their children, and just go on further with their education. We hope today that as you listen and you hear the stories, that it will touch your heart. You'll reach out to Abby and you'll make a difference. And just remember, there's several ways to help. One, you can volunteer. Two, you can just advocate. Say a kind word. One of the recipients of the Single Parent Scholarship that you hear about today in their story, share their testimony. Share that like a pebble in a pond and just rippling out. And then third, and most importantly, cash is king. You know, Kermit the Frog said his favorite color is green. I love green too. So let's reach out and let's put more money in the coffers for Single Parent Scholarship. Abby, I just want to say thank you so much for having United Way represented today. We're so blessed to have you as part of one of our partner agencies, and we just want to congratulate all the recipients of the scholarships and thank them for their hard work, because it's not easy, all the things single parents have to do. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and really and truly, as you listen and watch today, find a way that you can help and you can contribute with your heart. Thank you.
It's such an honor today to be surrounded by the strong infrastructure of the Fort Smith community. It's amazing to me, and it's so exponential of Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund. Their foundation and their infrastructure is so strong. We've got a state board that meets quarterly, and the very first question on everybody's mind is, what's in the best interest of our students? It's amazing to watch. All of our decisions are well thought out and planned on how they can help the most students in the best way. It's an honor to be part of that organization. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our Chancellor of University of Arkansas Fort Smith. And she's been so kind. I have to tell you kind of a personal story. When she first came on in 2019, I was first to call and talk to her wonderful Chief of Staff, Jennifer Belt, and say, oh, may I come in and talk to her? And I went in and I was so earnest, and I was trying to tell her about the plight of single parents, and she was miles ahead of me, not even yards, miles. She knew all this. She knew down to the penny how much it would knock a single parent out of school. She set up an emergency fund. She's already done it. She supports Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund by matching our dollars for our scholarships. She's just an amazing woman and so authentic, and I'm so honored to introduce you as she brings beauty to Beauty and the Beads, Dr. Riley.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Abby, for that wonderful introduction. To be honest, it is my honor and privilege to be here for Beauty and the Beads. I pulled my beads out this morning and I wanted to share with you. I bought these for about $2 when I was a single mom. Working, struggling, I understand exactly the kinds of challenges and triumphs that our students face. You see, I have 4 children. Last fall, all 4 were in college. Frankly, living my best life, I truly believe, because they had it better than I had. When I went to college, I worked 3 jobs to pay my tuition and fees, and at one point, I almost dropped out. I know how easy it would have been to give up. But as our mayor reminded me this morning, each of us are on a bungee cord. that is pulled by such a greater force than we have within ourselves, but by the grace of God and by the ability of our communities to lift us up even higher than we could possibly have imagined on our own. So while these beads may be a $2 find, and they were the best I could afford, they're still reminding me every day of who I am, where I come from, to be proud of my family and my background, but more importantly, to continually support the individuals who also want to better their lives and their families. Our students, the men and women who come to the University of Arkansas Fort Smith, are surrounded by caring professionals, by individuals who understand that the struggle is real, that life is a challenge, that school is a challenge, but couple school and life with juggling kids and bills and medications and other expenses, and almost anything can throw a student off track. More than 36% of college students across the nation face food insecurity every month. As a result, the University of Arkansas Fort Smith has formed the Dr. Dave Stevens Lion Pride Food Pantry, where we don't just meet students' financial needs with food, but we also help them with school supplies, backpacks for their kiddos, and make sure that they have all of the resources that they need. Through generous donors, we've also been able to establish a student emergency aid fund at our foundation. And many people who support this wonderful cause understand that as a foundation and as an institution, we are investing in the best and brightest future that the River Valley could possibly imagine. When you invest in students, you invest in the future. I'm really privileged to be the chancellor at the University of Arkansas Fort Smith, where we have a unique and special relationship in our community, where every single person takes pride in the students who attend and graduate from UA Fort Smith. So please join me in celebrating this wonderful organization, but more importantly, join me in investing in our future. Thank you.
The amazing stories that you'll be hearing all day today. You too could even be a chancellor at a university if you put your mind to it. We have a lot of support at the Single Parent Scholarship Fund, and I'll be remiss. Dr. Riley and I serve on the United Way board, and I've been on there 5 or 6 years. And I began my very first year on the board. I was part of the allocation committee, which is the committee that decides where money gets to go. And one of my first visits was to the Single Parent Scholarship Fund, and just immediately fell in love with everything about it. Listening to the recipients and what they have done with their lives is just, it's incredibly inspirational, and that's exactly why we are here today. The Scholarship Fund actually has a board of its own as well. Sunshine Bartlett is at Arvest, and we could list 1 million Arvest associates that are volunteers for the Single Parent Scholarship Fund. But Sunshine's going to talk to us about being on the board.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for attending the 3rd annual Beauty and the Beads. With your support in 2019, the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund provided over 1,300 students with $1.9 million in scholarships. Although that's pretty amazing, that's just one of the resources that our organization provides to its students. Our staff and volunteers also coordinate developmental workshops such as automobile care, resume writing, interview skills, and even cooking classes. This year has presented many challenges for our students, and I'm most proud of the organization's response to quickly provide computer and internet access to students that might not have had those resources available so they could continue their courses online. Our focus is to bring Arkansas single-parent families out of poverty, earning a living wage, and thriving in their communities. And our services work. 92% of our students continued their education or completed their programs in 2019. I'm really excited for you to hear some of these stories today. I want to give a special thank you to Jennifer Caldwell, Jeanette Fahm, and Gabe Seisenbach for their hard work in ensuring this event today was a success. I also want to thank you again for being here. We appreciate your support, and we couldn't do this without you. And be sure to place a bid on your favorite piece of jewelry. Thank you.
I'm just delighted today to sing to our unsung heroes, and that's you, all of our donors, and all of the people that support us. And if you see Jesse Fenwick out in the community, please hug his neck. And Brandon Chase Goldsmith, they both sat down with me and they were so gracious. And I was like, do you think we could do this? Do you think we could do it live? And I like it because they call me Miss Abby, you know. Oh, Miss Abby, we could do that for you. And they were so brave, and they have worked so hard to make this happen. So please say a little prayer for Sandy Nelson. She is our Region 8 program manager, and she's recovering from surgery. But I can't tell you the great things that that woman has done. So please say a prayer for her today, and when you see her, give her a hug. And now I thank all of our sponsors, but I really am honored to introduce a woman that I just have so much respect for personally and professionally. And she has stepped up in so many ways through the community to show what it's like to work for a wonderful organization, the skills you need to do that. And she's always calm and organized, and she is just the best communicator that I've ever met. And so on a personal level, I'm delighted to introduce Ms. Tracy Long with ABV and Baldor, and they were our magna cum laude sponsors this year.
Good afternoon. First of all, on behalf of ABB, I'd like to just share why we chose to sponsor this event, because as the third Beauty and the Beads, it's a pretty big deal. We really value education. We believe in the value of education at ABB. I think many of you in the community know that. You see where we invest a lot of our time and our money. We believe in investing in those who invest in themselves. And that's why this event was so important to us, because we see the work that everyone here is doing for this organization and for themselves. And we believe that an education is something that you can't take away from someone. Once it's earned, it's yours, and you take it with you wherever you go to become whoever it is you're going to become. So thank you, Abby and team, for letting us be part of this event today. We're very excited. And I'm honored now to introduce the next speaker to you. Our speaker today is also someone who appreciates hard work and understands the value of investing in herself and in her family. I think you'll find that part of her story is familiar, but I think you're going to find all of it to be inspiring. And through hard work and smart work, she's overcome challenges while continuing to invest in herself and her children and her community. And she's risen to the position of senior executive in a global business. So I'd like to introduce you to a very kind heart, to my coworker and my friend, Amy Lakin.
Thank you, Tracy, for those kind words. I'm fighting back the tears because it's always hard to hear those nice things about yourself, especially from such a great friend. I'm very honored for the opportunity to speak today. Abby asked me to come and tell a little bit about my story, and certainly I agreed to do that because this scholarship fund is such a great, worthy cause for our community. And you've seen so many of our great community leaders already today, and that is what I love about the Fort Smith community. I was telling Mayor McGill this morning that I've been here 10 years now. I came 10 years ago not planning to stay 10 years. I was kicking and screaming when I came to Fort Smith, and now, 10 years later, here I am, and I don't plan to go anywhere. So this community is just a fabulous community, and I appreciate what they're doing for these recipients. So to tell you a little bit about myself, in my lifetime, I have worked my way through college, and I have been a single parent. But I cannot imagine doing both of those things at the same time. Both situations were extremely challenging. But that is what the recipients of this scholarship are doing. They are working, they are going to school, and they are raising a family. And I have such admiration for each one of them. So a little bit about me. I grew up in a very small town with my parents and 3 siblings. We grew up in a small ranch home. My dad worked 3 jobs, and my mom worked 1. We were fortunate. We had shelter, we had food. Each year, my parents would buy us each 5 new outfits, 1 for each day of school. We would get 1 pair of dress shoes and 1 pair of tennis shoes, and you just hoped your feet didn't grow that year. So we knew growing up that if we wanted anything else, we had to earn it. So we all got jobs as soon as we could. We picked vegetables, we babysat, we drove tractor, and eventually we worked at our local grocery stores and fast food restaurants. We knew that anything we wanted, in addition to what Mom and Dad could give, we had to earn. So when it came time to go to college, I knew that if I was going to do that, my Mom and Dad would encourage me, they would support me, but financially I was on my own. But I wanted to go to college, so I came up with a plan. I went to school full-time for mechanical engineering. I took out student loans, and I worked full-time, 40 to 50 hours a week. Every second of every day was planned. And looking back, I don't know how I did it, but I do know that that desire to be the first person in my family to get my bachelor's degree had a lot to do with it. After graduation, I went to work for Xerox Corporation. I got married. I went for my master's degree, and I had 2 children, a boy and a girl. Life was good. I think by that point I had even paid off some student loans. Then, in 2004, when my son was 10 and my daughter was 6, my husband and 2 of his friends were returning from a business trip, and the single-engine plane they were piloting crashed, and none of them survived. And just like that, I was a single mom. I was living in a different state than the rest of my family. I traveled globally for my job, and I was a single mom. Again, looking back, I don't know how I did it, but I did it for my kids. I wanted my children to have a good role model. So as I reflect back on both of those times, there's a couple things I remember. As a college student, I did receive a $500 scholarship each year from my church. That $500 meant the world to me. It bought my books every year. It's something I've never forgotten. I still remember Mr. Duell, who started that scholarship fund, and his family, and I know that the recipients of the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund will never forget your contributions and what their scholarships have done for them. As a single mom, I knew I had to be comfortable with depending on others. There are good people in this world that want to help. And when you are facing a challenging time, you need to be willing to ask for help and receive help. That was not an easy thing for me. I'm a very independent person. But I applaud these scholarship recipients for coming forward, for seeking out this scholarship, and for applying for it and asking for help. During challenging times, you develop skills. When you are balancing a family, work, and school, you cannot help but develop skills like time management, communication, budgeting skills, and financial skills. These skills are invaluable, just not in your personal life, but in your professional life. I recently retired from a successful career. I worked for several manufacturing companies for 30 years. I worked my way up to executive vice president. And it wasn't just the knowledge I gained in school that helped me to do that. It was the life skills that I developed while balancing these multiple roles. So just one more short story before I leave you. When Miss Abby called me and asked me to tell my story at this event, of course I accepted because I was very excited to talk with the recipients. And then Abby asked me another question. She said, "How would you like to be introduced?" Well, I'm sure that Abby thought that was a simple question. But I paused because I didn't know how to answer that question. And then she said, "What would you like me to say your title is?" Title? What am I now? What is my title? Do I have a title? Do I need a title? Abby spoke again. How about former executive? Former executive. Yeah, okay, Abby, go with that. Former executive. Now, I'm sure that Abby thought that was the end of that, but it wasn't. Anybody that knows me knows I overthink everything. So I laid awake thinking about that question. I thought about it for several days. I thought about it in the shower. And here's what I decided. I am not a former executive. I am an executive. And so are each one of you. What is an executive? An executive is responsible for planning activities, managing income and expenditures, developing their people, and coming up with plans to meet goals. Is that not what each one of you do every single day? I am an executive. Each one of you are executives. Today, I applaud each one of you, and especially the recipients of the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund. Those recipients are developing their path forward. Thank you.
I know what title you have. You have a title of inspirational, is what that is. You heard the mayor talk about how businesses in Fort Smith have really opened their doors to a lot of the scholarship recipients, and one of those, First National Bank of Fort Smith, Jill Rowland, is in the trust department. She is here now and going to introduce somebody that she knows very well.
Thank you. That was so good. I don't know how to follow that. That was great, Amy. Thank you so much. I am one of the volunteers. I work with Sandy in the selection process, actually, on going through the interview and selection process of our scholarship recipients. And this organization is very close to my heart, near and dear, because I too was a single mom for a little while. And so I have experienced some of the struggles and difficulties and challenges that go along with that. One of my very first interviews that I did was with our first speaker. And this is the portion of this event now that we're going to get to start hearing from some of our scholarship recipients. So this is, I love to hear what they have to say. This first one, her name is Anika. I remember doing the interview. I remember how well-spoken she was, and when she left, Sandy and I just looked at each other and like, that was easy. She's great. She's got a great plan. She's doing what she says she's going to do, and that was an easy one. Well, that was a few years ago. Now I can vouch for Anika because I work with her. I work with her in the trust department at First National Bank, and we love having Anika. She works hard. She studies hard. She takes good care of her daughter. She's very impressive in every way. I don't know how she balances it all, especially during this time of COVID that we've had. I mean, I know, I've gotten to see this through Anika. This has been really difficult for these single moms because of how the school has changed for their kids, some of the additional things they're having to balance now that they didn't have to balance last year. and we've been able to watch her do that. She's reliable. She's always there as an essential bank worker. We didn't get to take any time off. We've been there every day throughout this. She works hard, she studies hard, and we love having her with us because she is a calming presence every day. We love it. But we're not calm today because Anika and I are very nervous about speaking in public, and so we're doing this for Abby, and we're doing this together, Anika. Here you go.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll go ahead and start by telling you all that I'm not a good candidate for public speaking. One reason is because I'm pretty soft-spoken, so a lot of you may not even hear anything that I'm saying. The second reason is because it terrifies me to speak publicly, but I know this is a virtual event, and I know a lot of you are saying, well, you should be okay. No, I'm still terrified. But I felt like it was important for you all to hear in my own words just how much this Single Parent Scholarship Committee has helped me. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom had 3 children, and she worked 2 jobs a lot of times just to take care of us. It never occurred to me during that time how hard it must have been for her to provide for us. That is, until I had to walk in her shoes. I'm thankful to have her, and I know a great deal of who I am is because of her. After graduating high school, I went to college for 2 years. It was then that I started working for First National Bank part-time. After working a year part-time, I was offered a full-time position. I took it, but during that time, I was also reaching a burnout stage during school, and I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I made the choice to drop out. Years passed, and so did life. It wasn't until I had my daughter, which was then followed by a series of life-changing events, that I realized that I wasn't living up to my full potential. That became very unsettling for me. When I looked at my daughter, I knew that was no longer acceptable, and I was no longer okay with where I was personally. I wanted more for myself and for my child. I had a responsibility to her to become the best version of myself that I possibly could. So the first decision I made was to go back to college. When I began the enrollment process, that's when I found out about the Single Parent Scholarship. And they changed my life in more ways than one. They've honestly become like an extended family to me. They've given me financial support, emotional support, but more importantly, they've given me hope and courage to keep striving for my dreams every day. I have now been at the bank for 15 years. I'm pursuing a degree for business banking. I'm excited to see where the future takes me, and I'm very grateful to have people like those involved in the Single Parent Scholarship in my corner, guiding me along my way to success. Thank you.
So who else needs a Kleenex now? And that's exactly, again, why we are here today, to hear these stories of success. And another recipient that we're going to hear from next, I was talking to her out in the hall just a bit ago. She was a bit nervous, I thought, until she got up here on stage and just took over. It was during all this sound check stuff, and it was kind of fun to watch. Elizabeth is a student at UA Fort Smith. She's a single mom, of course, working toward her degree in engineering. Please welcome Elizabeth Ramsey.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Ramsey, and I am a 33-year-old single mother of a beautiful daughter named Madeline, and she is 9 years old. And oh man, I've got a soft heart, so after hearing Anika share her story, I'm not sure if I'll be able to not cry. So my heart goes out to her, because when she was telling her story, I knew exactly where she was coming from. My mother was basically like a single mother, and she ended up getting a divorce when I was 6, and she unexpectedly passed away when I was 13 years old, and it was difficult growing up without my mother, and I will always remember the example that she set for me, but I was not used to getting help, so when I had my daughter, I was struggling. I have also struggled with drug addiction in the past, so this being in school and being able to attain a degree has meant so much to me. And when my sister told me about the Single Parent Scholarship Fund, because she's a recipient in Washington County, I was so excited, because it was an opportunity for me to get the help that I needed to go back to school. So I was so nervous when I interviewed, and I was just honest and upfront about my struggle with addiction. And recovery has changed my life so drastically and made me a better mother. But getting the help that I have received over the years from Single Parent Scholarship Fund has helped me profoundly with unexpected expenditures, and things like flat tires, clothes for my daughter because she had a growth spurt, my electric bill, part of my rent, books. I could go on and on. But I am so thankful for the help that I've received over the years. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the help and the guidance and the love that I've received from this fund. So thank you.
Thank you so much for believing in our single parents. Elizabeth's story, all of their stories just touch my heart. I'm honored today to introduce a young lady that is the first in her family to graduate from college. We met a few years ago when I was new to Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund. She's from Franklin County, which at one time had its own Single Parent Scholarship Fund group. They had a board. They were so active. And then they became part of Crawford, Franklin, Sebastian, 3 of our counties here. And then we turned into 6 counties, which we call the River Valley. And ATU, Ozark, Franklin County stands so strong, and they are such a strong component of our students going to school. And Charlotte is just amazing. She's not only the first in her family to graduate, I'll let her tell her story, but she has built an incredible career in banking, and now she's in academia out at ATU and helping other single parents to reach their dreams. So without further ado, here's Charlotte Coates.
Hello, and thank you for being here today, especially for supporting such a noble cause. I'm Charlotte Coates. I'm the daughter of a Vietnam War vet and a starving artist. I'm the youngest of 6 girls. I was a late in life baby that came along when my parents were in their 40s and they thought that they were done. Our parents didn't have much to offer us but love. In the 90s, my mom packed just me and her up, and we moved from the Cascades in Oregon to Dardanelle, Arkansas. My parents' divorce had been brutal, and all of a sudden my life completely changed because it was just my mom and myself. Everything was so different. She struggled so much. She did the best she could, but she didn't have the resources that she needed. Numerous times we were homeless. The first time we lived in a tent by the Arkansas River in Dardanelle. We also lived in a battered women's shelter in Russellville for quite a while. The stress of living poor got to her mentally, and I watched her struggle so hard, and I made a promise to myself that if I had children, I was not going to let them see me struggle. In 2002, I graduated high school from Ozark High. I was homeless again at the time, living on friends' couches with the empathetic parents. I started at the U of O on a full-ride scholarship that fall, and then I promptly blew it when I became pregnant at 19. Best mistake I ever did. 2 years later, I gave birth to a little girl. I was still single and I was all alone. It still took another decade and a short-lived bad marriage later for me to finally make the choice that I had to build a completely different life on my own. And I wanted to go back to school so badly, but I didn't know how. One of the major obstacles that I didn't know how to overcome was how to fund my journey. What was I going to do? Finally, I worked up the courage and I walked into the financial aid office at ATU Ozark. And everything was a blur, but I was so ecstatic. I found out that not only could I get a grant or two, but that between grants and single parent funding, I could pay for my associate's degree. Sorry. I did the things, I took the tests, I wrote the essays, and I made the decision to start classes on the Ozark campus. I finally had a plan, and I felt so good about that. With help from single parent funding sources like Career Pathways Initiative and the Single Parent Scholarship Fund, I didn't even have to buy my own books and I could focus on my studies. I was able to take a job at the university in the tutoring lab, and I got to know so many students from every degree track. So many were in a similar position that I was in, and they themselves were relying on programs just like this. And these programs enabled us to go further than we ever thought possible. This program enabled me to go further than I ever thought possible. Walking across the stage to receive my associates was one of the highest points of my entire life, top 5, hands down. I was the first in my family to do it. In late 2013, I was asked to teach a couple introductory business courses. I spent the next few years as an adjunct in the business department. I completed my Bachelor of Professional Studies and ABA certifications. And with each certification and each degree, my self-worth grew. My self-image became better, and it enabled me to be a better parent. In 2018, I was lying in a hospital bed holding my daughter who has a rare bleeding disorder. She was receiving her 3rd life-saving blood transfusion in 2 days. It was kind of a low point. My phone rang, and it was the Dean of Academics on the other line offering me the acting program chair position of the newly minted banking services degree on the Ozark campus, where I still am today. Don't worry, my daughter's fine. She's doing better than ever, actually. Now I have a salaried position with benefits, so I can finally take care of her. That was something that seemed like a complete fantasy. Now, as an instructor, I see the students in these programs. I sign their attendance forms. I grade their papers. They're the ones who never miss class. They never miss their assignments. They are here for a higher purpose. They are here to set the example for their own children. And today, you aren't just buying jewelry. You're creating social mobility. You are strengthening families. And strong families are going to build strong communities. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. And enjoy your afternoon.
Earlier, you heard from him speaking on behalf of the United Way of Fort Smith area. He is the CEO and president of the United Way of Fort Smith area, Eddie Lee Herndon, and my friend, and you'll understand when I say this, you only have 2 minutes. He is now going to introduce a very special recipient of the Arkansas Scholarship, Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund, Mr. Eddie Lee.
Thank you, sir. Well, this is my favorite part of the event for me, is to introduce the next young lady. She's a hand raiser. She's a game changer. She's a difference maker. Miss Carrie Terry. She's a single mom. She has 4 beautiful children. She is our Community Initiatives Coordinator for United Way. I often talk in resource development about how it begins with the first phone call and how you answer that. You want to be able to hear somebody smiling through the phone. Well, if you call the United Way office, you're going to hear a smile. She's that first person that answers the phone. Such a hard worker, changing lives throughout our community. She helps and actually runs our Dolly Parton Imagination Library in the state of Arkansas for our 4 counties. She runs Fill the Bus, Touch a Truck, all the initiatives that we have. Carrie Terry manages those for United Way, and I'm very excited to introduce the recipient of the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship. And I would like to add, she has completed her associate's degree with the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. She is a graduate of Leadership Crawford County. She is also an alumni of the Van Buren Police Academy, Citizens Police Academy. And with that, I bring to you Ms. Carrie Terry.
Thank you, Eddie Lee. That's a little bit different when the roles are reversed and your CEO is introducing you. It's normally the other way around. So I'm honored to be asked to come back again this year. Abby reached out to me, and I'm always happy to assist, even though public speaking is not always my favorite, but it is part of my job, and I'm happy to help any other single parents that I can. So last year I spoke a little bit about my crazy family and my children and all the things that they get me into. So this year I'd like to take it back a little bit and maybe talk about what makes me me and my why. Probably like the other single moms that spoke, I may not make it through without a little tears, so bear with me. Going back to school has been a long time dream of mine, but it takes perseverance, patience, which I'm sometimes a little short of, those that know me, and some grit. I've been accused by my friends and family sometimes of being a little hard-headed or a little stubborn, but I think that's certainly been necessary to take the steps that you need to succeed, especially as a single parent. To understand my why, I want to share a little bit about my childhood and character building experiences, as Eddie Lee calls them. We talk about that in the office. They're not challenges, they just build who you are. I'm a first-time generation college graduate. I graduated, as he said, with my associate's degree in May of 2018 with the help of Single Parent Scholarship Fund. That has not been the journey that my family took. My mother did not graduate high school. She obtained her GED a few years later. She became a mom at 19, just as I did. She grew up in a very traumatic home and became an addict while I was very young. As a young child, I never knew if we were going to have food in the house or who we were going to be staying with. We often stayed in motels with friends or family. In fact, we moved so much that I was held back in kindergarten because I didn't know my address. We moved a few short months later, and I caught back up and was put in the grade that I was supposed to be in through a lot of hard work and a lot of extra homework. A few years later, I moved in with my dad. He was single for many of the years that he raised me. I watched him work long hours to make ends meet because he learned to do the same from his mom, who was also a single mother. Both of my grandmothers became single working moms, and so were both of my parents. It's pretty much all that I knew was to work hard to make it to the next payday. While I admired their hard work, I knew that I wanted a career that I loved and that I wasn't looking forward to just the next paycheck. Starting at United Way in 2015 confirmed that my passion was to help others that may not have had the best start in life either. My boss encouraged me to go back to school, so I thought, I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but by the grace of God, it has. Going back to school has changed my life and my children's lives. They see all the hard work that I put in, and all 4 of them want to go to college someday. Working full-time and now attending school full-time, while balancing all the things that comes with being a single parent, has shown me that I can do anything. Single Parent Scholarship Fund has opened the door for me for other opportunities and bridged the gap in expenses, allowing me to complete my education debt-free when I graduate in May. Sandy and Abby are always willing to cheer me on, and Ruth Ann as well. They're great assets and dear friends. Last year when I spoke, I was approached afterwards by Miss Kathy Williams and the PEO organization, and that led to another scholarship, a very generous scholarship, that changed the trajectory of my education. I'm so thankful to Single Parent Scholarship Fund because it has empowered me to not only change my life, but the lives of all of my children and their children. Believing in single parents like me changes generations. Thank you.
Again, inspirational. That's why we are here today. You've noticed at the bottom of your screen down here that Single Parent Scholarship Fund strives to break the string of poverty among single parents, and you've seen the results. This is why we are here today. I was told to thank Arlene, the IT queen, before we wrapped it up this afternoon. Again, thank you to all the speakers, all the volunteers, the board members, United Way of Fort Smith area, all that have put together. Of course, Miss Abby. I got to start calling her Miss Abby now because that's really cool. But we do thank you for being here this afternoon. Thank you for watching. Next year we will all be together, although we are kind of together now. Next year we will be all together where we can really have a big celebration. Don't go anywhere though, because coming up in just a few minutes we are going to have the drawings for the Valhalla bracelet and the Ronaldo bracelet. I know a lot of tickets have been sold for that, so we'll do that here in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. But again, thank you all for being with us today.